Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ankit Sinha this side. Thank you so much for joining us for this very interesting webinar, just reflective of the times that we are in. I have lots of very, very interesting guests and panelists with me. So the next 45 minutes should be very, 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 very insightful and action-packed for you. I would say that the title that we have for the conversation today is focusing on a very, very critical industry for us in India, which is the BFSI. We do have the same use cases and we do find a lot of implementations and interpretations of it for customers and for organizations across the world as well. So we will definitely touch upon the global nature of how a regulated industry like BFSI really has been adopting AI per se. Ankit Sinha, this is me, myself. I'm based in Mumbai right now, and I would have the charter at Searce for the last 5.5 years to take modern business operations practice further. We've been using the best of technology. I've spent some time with Google Cloud myself, so this is a topic which is very close to my heart. This is technology that we absolutely love. I would like to also ensure that Shatam can quickly say a quick hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Shatam. We'll bring you at the right point of time and definitely like to learn a lot from the experiences of a practitioner. The purpose that CS likes to do these kinds of sessions is not to sell stuff to people, not to show that there is glory and then there are no risks. There are lots of social media influencers for that. I think what we really like to do is to get authentic experiences shared with all of you and allow this to be a dialogue. So we'll definitely also open for questions and answers for Shatam, who has kindly also agreed to stay in till the end. We also will have Deepthi. Deepthi, can you quickly say a hello so that we do a quick mic check?
Hello, everyone.
So Deepthi represents Google Cloud here. Perhaps that one organization which has been the seed for all of this generative AI because of their huge investments in tech and engineering over the last 10 plus years. Deepthi comes from the professional services background, and again, her experiences in the field, what she sees as patterns from across the board would be something that we will definitely invite Deepthi to talk about as well. The last gentleman is Sankalp. Sankalp is from CS. Sankalp, you can quickly say hello.
Hello.
We will definitely start with Sankalp in some senses because for us at CS, Sankalp has been anchoring all the financial services organizations and all the conversations, and he's been kind of looping in the experts. We live in that dichotomy that the maximum number of AI applications come from this very industry. We also see the maximum number of questions and doubts on whether AI is a good fit or not from this very industry. That is something that a dilemma that we definitely would like to discuss today. We've got 40 more minutes odd left today. I would break it down into 5 big things. Making artificial intelligence real in the BFSI space. I'll probably get Sankalp to talk about some of the things that he wants to highlight about the common patterns, and it will perhaps start with the most critical thing around sensitive data protection. There will be questions on how people, probably every department, every person wants to discuss this, so we'll see Sankalp's view on that. From Deepti's perspective and from Shatam's perspective, we will definitely take their leadership viewpoint on both adoption and change, the pluses, the minuses, and then we will talk about scale and accuracy, because it often is boiling down to people getting the confidence in AI once we have solved the basic foundational problems. At the end, we will just close with a full stack approach as to how great technology providers like Google Cloud, how does CS kind of use that and just stitch the whole stack together. Perhaps we can open up the first poll, Prachi, and you can see the poll quickly coming in, and you should be able to vote for poll number 1, which was around autonomous agents and which use cases seem exciting or seem relevant to you. You can also chat in case something else is there. And then the primary concern, that where do you see some challenges that are discussed often inside your organization, so that we can also focus on those topics. Let me now stop my chatter. I know that I have 3 important guests. Sankalp, quickly over to you. What are the things that you in the financial industry space, because you've worked with over 100 companies in the region, what are the things that you quickly see?
Yep. So
with the shift from generative to agentic, use cases are popping up like plenty. Right? So from the customer's touch base across the value chain for all of the financial services organization, there either is already an adoption or there is a potential of a huge adoption of AI having an intervention in over there for all of these use cases. So we are talking starting from the customer acquisition and those marketing activities to the customer onboarding to having multiple touch points across their journey and their relationship with the financial services organization, where you can have them activated, you have them engaged on multiple products as well, then eventually from a customer services perspective. And the shift that we are also seeing is down to now with the increased capabilities of these models, especially from the multimodal front, which is a trend one you are seeing there, the capabilities of ingesting, processing, and then even delivering text, audios, videos. These interventions from an AI perspective or the use cases which we call, they are not being restricted just to the core business of the financial services organization. They are cutting across the business verticals within these organizations. So we are not just looking at cases where you are just onboarding or acquiring a customer and making sure that their data through, maybe even forms and all is captured and those underwriting decisionings are made, but also from a content generation, from a marketing perspective, or maybe a hiring from an HR perspective. So all of these cases are coming into the picture. But the undercurrent always remains that while the use cases are aplenty, for them to scale, governance is very important. And that is where this harsh number, where 75% of them are mostly focused on POCs, but taking that into production is where the real governance piece and having that sorted out becomes very much important, because FSI, as everyone knows, is very, very regulated. That is coming to the third point, that the way we work is changing, that AI has the momentum, it is the moment, but your security, compliance, your monitoring, and all the pieces of the governance will lay a correct foundation so that it is not only accepted, but also adopted within the organization. And it then goes on to become a scale within the production environment and not just a capability showcase, because as we all know, just showcasing the same capability with your own data is acceptable, yes, but having that scale achieved, the undercurrent of governance is really important. So your foundation will be the one, but your differentiation will be a use case. And when we talk about security,
Yeah, so let's focus on that a little bit
yeah,
so that there is just a little bit of depth coming in for the audiences
correct,
listening in, that what is the sensitive data protection piece, and there'll be other challenges in the whole story, but you probably just focus here a little bit, please. Yeah.
correct. So while security will have multiple layers, will you have your networking security, you have your data security. One thing that we do want to touch upon, and which has been a sensitive topic by the nature of the data itself, is the sensitive data protection. So everyone, especially with the DPDP Act coming in, is very much conscious about their personal or the PII data being exposed. And that is where the sensitive data protection really comes into the picture, because we have worked with the clients to design these architectures where your data and not only just redacting but also identifying the respective information which has to be redacted becomes very important. So on your data, identifying those sensitive information, having them redacted is not just one piece, but all you also do not then also have the control over what the user is going to prompt and the question which can be asked. And that intelligence with the advent of the capabilities of such models is where Ankit is also highlighting coming into the picture, where any such information being asked by the user through their prompts can also then be redacted or maybe even tokenized as we talk about it, so that the access to these LLMs are very much secure. So they are accessing those tokenized value. And since it is tokenized, the very keyword which we will come on to the next parts as well is the context piece. That due to that tokenization, that question always comes up from the client's perspective. Is if the data is redacted, do I lose context? No, you don't, because you are maintaining that tokenization both from a user prompt perspective, but also at a data perspective. So this becomes a very powerful solution when we talk about having your PII or a sensitive data very much protected. We do have a demo over here which exactly showcases this capability. While you would see through a chat interface, the center part which you see is an actual chat happening where the question will be put. But on the right part is where you see the actual logs. So if you can just quickly see that the employee name Jonathan Carter is coming as a tokenized value over here. And this is both from an output perspective, and the top box which you see is from the data perspective. So both from the user output being generated as well as the data being accessed, those values are very much being tokenized, showcasing a very even a single part of the security feature. But this is a very, very important part of the security feature, because we know the networking security pieces will be in place, your data storage security pieces will be in place. But now giving those clients that confidence to having your workflows access LLMs and making sure your data is, say, secure that way, becomes a really powerful commentary for all of the organizations to make. This is very much in line that we have had several banks adopt, because this was a non-starter. The AI use cases or even an AI conversation became a non-starter for them because of the problems, or I would say the challenges around this. But the last chart which you see, that the account holder name is John Carter, is a very, very simple and a very powerful example to bring this point home.
Thanks, Sankalp. So the way I summarize it, that at the time of feeding data through the LLM for training,
Yeah.
and even at the time of interactions, if an organization wanted to ensure that sensitive data is not reaching a Gemini model, even though Gemini is enterprise secure and it doesn't use that data, we can still work and we can get the things tokenized. So I guess if someone's interested, they'll definitely like to understand more. In the spirit of continuing the conversation, let me please bring Shotam in the conversation. So, Shotam, if you can kindly unmute yourself, and what we would definitely like to get, so you can forget the tech piece for say, but I think you are answerable to a very large company's very critical board view. You're probably catering to the interests of lots of teams which are demanding stuff from you. How are you balancing thing? What is your view on the AI side?
With respect to AI, and particularly the advent of Gen AI and the use cases that are coming in, a lot of point has been touched upon by Sankalp and you yourself, Ankit, that we are a heavily regulated industry, right?
Correct.
So in such an industry, while one of the most important thing is the governance on whatever we put into production, right? Because we are answerable to the not only the customer but also a regulator. One
Correct.
complaint can trigger large amount of penalties or brand value loss for the organization. And there has been stories around also how agentic AI is and all while performing. If there is anything which is non-explainable,
Correct.
becomes a big pointer in highlighting that things are not working right, or it's a brand reputation primarily that gets
Mm.
dented in such
Yes. Yes.
situation. So one is the boards are always worry about what kind of governance you have in AI and AI models in the AI overall AI life cycle, and the risks that you are bringing in and how you are mitigating those. And second, of course, this obviously the AI use cases, they require a fair amount of funding, right, for
Hmm.
the use case to then train and all.
Correct.
How you are going to keep a tab on whether that is value yielding. So if it is not yielding the right value over a period of time, then it is not right for you, right, to adopt or to continue with as well. Third aspect that I will bring in
Yes, please.
is the transforming nature of this industry. The regulation keeps changes. Today there is PPHI, tomorrow there is INDES, so on and so forth. And hence you have to keep a very strong tab on the model drift and data drift, because with changing situations, this is one of the key areas that whatever you had built the model for and whatever data on which it is trained upon, whether that is still the right data and the right model to support your use case or bring out the right value uh, with the changing situations. So all these three things are very key, and the board, the members are always very keen on understanding that how you are mitigating, or how you are prepared about all those things as you are bringing in new use cases involving AI agent, particularly agentic AI, Gen AI, which is context based rather than being deterministic. So
Interesting. Shwatam, you brought in a lot of concepts which are perhaps a little advanced for a common layman to fully comprehend, like explainability. You mentioned that you would need the model to get much more predictable. You spoke about drift, something which was working perfectly fine during the POC, after 3 months, suddenly begins to operate differently. If you do not want to become the villain by blocking AI inside the company totally, is there something that you believe would be a good advice from you to other CISOs, other CIOs as to what can be their goal? How does one kind of keep ensuring there is progress? That will be my question.
AI is actually bringing in, I should also speak about the positive part of it. There are so much of use cases that are also coming up across
Correct.
the value chain, right from the quality of sales pitch that are being made by your frontline sales. So from this is the lead and conversion of the first pitch, etc. I'm talking about. From there to code generation, customer onboarding, risk assessment, huge number of use cases, to onboarding, issuance, and then policy servicing. I mean, many companies in the organization are going AI contact center and all. We also have that in our roadmap. And then up to the point of claim, and more so into the back office also, like your product fitment and right product generation to make a profitable product. What will be right for fit for the industry at this point in time with the current economic conditions, so on and so forth. There are huge number of use cases that are coming up department wise. As Sankalp also said, HR today is coming up with a solution they think that is implementable and value adding and bringing it onto the board. With all those things, I think one thing that we need to understand is, one, to look at AI as a horizontal and not as a vertical, that so that you can have standard guardrails. It's a function within the company. So standard guardrail, whenever you bring in something, you onboard it safely and you run it securely while through its entire life cycle. That will be one of the primary things. And the partners who will be able to bring in this confidence along with the solutions
Yeah.
will then obviously be the preferred partners for all the organizations, particularly in BFSI, to go ahead with.
The last line is also very encouraging for the principal technology player, Google, and for people like us who want to be the best agent engineering company. Actually, that kind of sets a direction as well. Before I bring in Deepti, I'd probably just like to get Sankalp to come in and just get talking about a sample use case, perhaps, how you see. So
10-second context, essentially, till now we have talked more around security. Now we are shifting more towards the word context itself and how AI with the context of your customers' data is very much relevant to improve your operations, right? So that is the thing that you want to touch upon. And the thing that you are seeing here is more of a post-call analysis. So usually your contact centers and your service centers do have those call recordings and the things that you are seeing on screen and on call.
I am playing a very poor quality audio, so it's okay if people don't understand. I'll pause it also.
Yeah. So the case here is it was a loan collections call for which this is a post-call analysis. As you can see, that in traditional way, only 2% of such calls undergo QC, and then the feedback to the agents for even improvement is not so strong. So the on the right, which you see is the transcription. But what difference AI does is able to make for each and every of such calls, there is an insight which is being generated. Not just that, you have your overall scoring mechanisms, which is very much customized to how you want to train your own agents so that your eventual customer experience is very much better. And scoring on those KPIs, what are the performance highlights, what are the areas of improvement, which come down to a very tangible areas of work for that particular agent, which eventually the common goal of improving the customer experience. And the thing which you see in terms of your sentiment analysis, which is a practice, is more of a case which is very much customized and contextualized to the nature of the use case itself. It was a loan sort of a case where dispositions are usually low, the sentiments are usually negative. But then what AI does help, having the context of your organization, of the customer itself, is to help you identify not only what the agent should have done, but also what the next best actions are based on each and every of such calls, so that it becomes a very powerful assistant to you. That ending of a call is not the end of the customer journey for you. The next steps and that assistance is really what brings that value to you.
Thanks, Uncle. I didn't play the recording because it's very jarring to the ear and in a very noisy place. And I don't know how these models are able to discern background noises against the speaker diarization. And perhaps Deepthi will have a lot more. So we'll not force Deepthi to reveal whatever is going to come in the next 7 days at Google I/O. Definitely, we will get Deepthi. This is what you were highlighting, that the context is what you were able to add together with the multimodality. And the magic begins to kind of happen, that everything that we were lazy about earlier, you probably just see that the customer. So I like the fact that in your previous dashboard, the agent feedback was positive and the customer sentiment was still negative.
Yeah.
Perhaps nobody wants to repay their loans. It was very interesting. In that light, I would just like to share that to build a solution like that, Sankalp, we know that we can get the models straight out of, we can consume the models. Google's making it easy. But talk me through this. What is this complex diagram that you are showing us here?
Yeah.
What is it that you do in terms of building the solution?
Right. So it is all of the points that we have touched upon till now, right? All of your governance and your security layers. But again, outside of a capability showcase, but getting them to work well in the production environment, having your sensitive data protections in place, having your data security protections in place, having your feedback loops established so that in case a user feedback is negative, how can you improve the responses in your further cycles? Making sure you have the grounding of LLMs within your own data and it is giving you those quality responses. So even something as simple as a chat experience is not just a decision tree anymore. It is more of a heavy understanding of how to get the right and accurate responses. And it is not just about getting the right responses, it's also about getting the right responses in a very right way, which Shottam was also talking about. And that is what the engineering effort which really goes into this, so that you are not able to get just the good responses, you are able to scale it up, and which is very much grounded in your data. So the context, the governance, both of them come together to deliver that value, which eventually would help scale out of POC into production.
Thank you so much. I like the fact that we are able to discuss this, that it's not simply the model that is great. The model is surely the engine, and that has to be great, but the whole car has been engineered to suit the convenience of the roads and the convenience of the driver. Deepthi, if I can invite you, and we could have definitely spent a whole 60 minutes thing with you. From a Google perspective, I think you definitely have the best vantage point. You guys are in some ways driving the momentum for plenty of years. You're not just innovating on the frontier model side, you're doing the entire tech stack that we could engineer by getting all the cloud components in. I would probably make it very open for you. What are the patterns you're seeing in this industry? What are the lessons you're drawing? Floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. So I think we started with the pattern shift in the beginning, where we said that, we are looking at more of agentic AI conversations. But when I think I will not talk about 2 years back, but
2 years is a very long time
yeah,
in our world today.
currently I don't know next week what we are doing. So when we started talking about AI, Gen AI, we started talking about chatbots, right? Everyone was talking that I want to build something FAQ based chatbots. And if we see the shift right now, it was basically AI was acting as assistant and human was executing. Now AI is executing and human is just validating what AI is executing, right? So the shift is very drastic, I would say. But because this is a regulated industry, there are risks, and customers are careful, right? Customers are very careful in terms of, if you see I work across banks in India. Everyone has a different viewpoint, right? What they can use for external customers, what they can use for public data. So the conversation for each customer is very unique right now. It is not just experiments now, right? Everyone wants to see return on investments.
Yep.
So if you see the budget's allocation in the FSI sector, you will see that they are getting a larger chunk for IT budget, and
Yep.
in that IT budget, the larger chunk is for AI. But the conversation is what I will get out of this project that you're using. Again, it is moving away from silos conversation that, okay, do it for HR, do it for marketing. It is coming together as an organization, what you can do for me, what is a framework that you can build for me. So I see that there's a lot of conversations on business growth. I mean, very interesting. Sankalp used that use case, right? There are investor conversations where these use cases are mentioned now, right? From one of the customers, you will see it was mentioned that, what was their business growth. Similar kind of analysis from audio was done, and the hyper personalization so it is not just sentiment analysis, right? It
Correct.
is extracting data, understanding what customer was asking for, and designing the loans or designing the request as per that call conversation. So it becomes very important that the kind of use cases, and they were able to show drastic business growth like 10% per quarter, and that was our achievement as well, right? So I mean, when we see such kind of use cases, it's very impactful right now. But again, I'll come back to the governance part of it, right? We have to move away, because when we show any demo, right, like we all see that
Correct.
everything looks very, very, very shiny, that we can do it. But when you move to productionization, the challenges start dropping. So we have to see that from the demo to productionization, whether we have done the right planning, whether we have the right data, or whether we have the right data pipelines. So, I mean, the planning becomes very important. So, what kind of use case, whether it is deterministic, right? There are customers who don't want to use LLM for customer conversations still. So I mean, the whole designing part, the planning part becomes very important. Then when we move to execution, we have to be very careful that we are under our RBI guidelines, under the Data Protection Act, where data is residing. So all those conversations become very critical, and not only in India, I think globally, because it's a
Yes.
regulated industry. One of the use cases, it was the legal use case for a bank, where they have NCCP Act, and how they use agentic framework to approximately save 50-60% of their legal hours. So I mean there is impact, but we have to be very careful for the governance. And now, I mean, you are listening to all the announcements like agent observability, audit trails. So how we are implementing those things becomes very critical, I think, in the execution phase. And I think we also spoke about data drift. So
Correct.
once you implement anything, right, how you keep maintaining. We all come from like the maintenance of the remote infrastructure management and all those, but now what tools we have to maintain the agentic world will become very critical. I think that conversation will be a differentiator going forward, because everyone knows how to implement. Everyone now is moving towards the implementation phase, but how you maintain, how you have, especially in our FSI industry, how you can showcase all those things, compliance and data leakage. So those conversations will become very important, I think.
Thanks, Deepti. The things that I gather, and both from Shautam's perspective and what you said, is perhaps it's time that we do a better job at planning things. There is perhaps the requirement for us to ensure that the follow-up evaluations and all also are kind of getting more investments. Surely, coding and developing in the middle is getting faster and more easy, but we should not try to overlook. And it's sometimes a chicken and egg thing. I do believe for a lot of companies, when you are dipping your toes into the world of AI for the first time. There is no common language between different stakeholders in different parties. And I would only think that that's where, let's say, the efforts that you put in from the consulting team's perspective is quite helpful for large enterprises, because somebody needs to anchor this whole conversation together. We used to get a lot of bad use cases as well, which we would think from the outside are perhaps not great fits for ML and AI of that era. People used to ask us that, can you start predicting stock prices? Then somebody became a president in some part of the world, and now nobody basically wants to solve stock market prediction use cases, because we are all living in a very, very unpredictable thing. But we definitely need help to ensure that people can get a structure and the language for it. Let me, in that spirit, again, just get in Sankalp once again. Sankalp, so quick commentary with the kind of, let's assume that security is in, governance is in, observability is in. What is this use case that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, so that is exactly what I was going to talk about. So we have covered compliance, we have covered the second part, and then this is a capability part. So compliance, context, and now the third C, which is a capability. So this is now with more live models being with us, with the capability of more real-time conversations. This is one of the use cases we were solving, where, like Shautam was also mentioning, we are going for HR. So this is a recruitment sort of a use case, but it has its parallel into customer service and customer interactions as well. So you would see that it has multilingual capabilities. It would have the different capabilities, which we'll come to, but let's play the demo first. A couple of
Hi
minutes.
Durgesh, am I speaking with the right person?
Yes, I am Durgesh.
Are you comfortable continuing in English? क्या आप हिंदी में बात करना चाहते हैं अथवा ನೀವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತನಾಡಲು ಬಯಸುತ್ತೀರಾ?
हिंदी में बात करते हैं।
ठीक है, मैं रिक्रूटमेंट टीम से पूजा हूं और हम अभी फील्ड सेल्स एग्जीक्यूटिव्स हायर कर रहे हैं। इस छोटी सी कॉल में हम कुछ ज़रूरी सवाल पूछेंगे ये देखने के लिए कि आपका एक्सपीरियंस इस रोल के लिए मैच करता है या नहीं, इससे पहले कि हम आपको इन पर्सन इंटरव्यू के लिए बुलाएं। क्या आपके पास अभी 5 से 7 मिनट हैं?
हाँ है।
कृपया ध्यान दें कि आपके सभी जवाब रिकॉर्ड और ट्रांसक्राइब किए जा रहे हैं ताकि इवैल्यूएशन फेयर रहे। मैं आपको फील्ड एग्जीक्यूटिव का एक टिपिकल दिन बताती हूँ। ये पूरे फील्ड सेल्स का रोल है। दिन की शुरुआत सुबह 9:30 बजे गेट मीटिंग से होती है, जहां आपके मैनेजर आपके डेली टारगेट्स रिव्यू करते हैं और दिन प्लान करते हैं। उसके बाद आप मर्चेंट से मिलते हैं, शॉप्स को ऑनबोर्ड करते हैं और स्मार्ट स्पीकर्स, क्यूआर कोड्स, लोन्स और ईडीसी डिवाइसेस जैसे प्रोडक्ट्स बेचते हैं। दिन आमतौर पर शाम 6:30 बजे खत्म होता है, मंडे टू सैटरडे। क्या अभी तक सब समझ में आया और क्या ये रोल आप जो ढूंढ रहे हैं उससे मैच करता है?
हाँ।
सैलरी की बात करें तो आप ₹1000 बेसिक सैलरी कमा सकते हैं। परफॉर्मेंस इंसेंटिव्स और डेली टारगेट्स हिट करने पर ये ₹1000 तक भी जा सकता है। आपकी फाइनल पे पूरी तरह आपकी डेली परफॉर्मेंस पर डिपेंड करेगी। क्या आप इस सैलरी स्ट्रक्चर के साथ आगे बढ़ने में कंफर्टेबल हैं?
हाँ मैं हूँ।
क्योंकि इस रोल के लिए रोज मार्केट विजिट्स करनी पड़ेंगी, क्या आपके पास रोज के काम के लिए टू व्हीलर है?
हाँ है।
कंप्लायंस के लिए हमें आपकी एजुकेशन भी कंफर्म करनी है। क्या आपके पास वैलिड 12th पास सर्टिफिकेट, डिप्लोमा या आईटीआई सर्टिफिकेट है?
हाँ मेरे पास 12th पास सर्टिफिकेट है।
और उस क्वालिफिकेशन की डिटेल्स जैसे बोर्ड या स्पेशलाइजेशन?
मैंने महाराष्ट्र बोर्ड से कंप्लीट किया है मेरा 12th।
और किस साल में कंप्लीट किया था?
2022।
क्या आप मुझे थोड़ा अपने परिवार के बारे में बता सकते हैं? कितने लोग हैं और उनमें से कितने लोग काम कर रहे हैं?
आप ये पर्सनल क्वेश्चन क्यों पूछ रहे हो?
कंप्लायंस और कंपनी पॉलिसी के लिए हमें ये जानकारी चाहिए आगे बढ़ने के लिए। ये हमारे सभी कैंडिडेट्स के स्क्रीनिंग का एक स्टैंडर्ड हिस्सा है। तो क्या आप मुझे थोड़ा अपने परिवार के बारे में बता सकते हैं? कितने लोग हैं और उनमें से कितने लोग काम कर रहे हैं?
जी हाँ 4 लोग हैं एंड
So essentially, the focus here is that we saw chat becoming more interactive rather than more algorithmic based. And similarly, now the capabilities are there to make this voice interactions themselves more interactive per se, and not just adherence to a particular IVR kind of a setup, but having more back and forth adherence to script and having those capabilities of not only multilingual catering to Indian regional languages, having your authentication in place, resilience in terms of if there is background noise, you want to pick up the correct voice so that a human-like interaction can happen is definitely there. guardrails in place so that if a cross question comes like towards the end of the call, that why are you asking me these personal questions, there is a specific adherence and a very contextual response being given. So again, from the capabilities perspective, this is again more of a case which showcases, like, on the face of it looks very straightforward, very simple, but from designing this to making sure that no hallucinations are taking place, it is very much grounded in the realities of the enterprise data, is where the real effort comes in, and that is again what showcases the capabilities of the whole system. So compliance, context, and then the capabilities. And this is where the customer service itself becomes more as an overall function, where all of the L1 sort of queries, where a simple, status-based queries and things like that, companies are moving more and more towards having them exposed to the AI agents, so that the human agents are actually working on either high priority customers or high ticket size customers, where their intelligence and human touch point is really much required. And similarly, the agent assist as well as the conversational insights is where even in real time you can support your service agents to give the respective responses to the customers, so that the experience of the overall customers is prioritized first, and like Deepthi was also mentioning, very much personalized.
I think I would now like to get all the panelists to perhaps kind of summarize, let's say, what might be that one takeaway. I guess what we did try to establish today is that there are loads of prerequisites that should be met. The capabilities of AI is compounding at a very, very quick rate. I think we were able to establish that enterprises are definitely preparing and adopting, and they are also following up on their AI initiatives. So, Sankalp, probably one last comment from your side, and then I would probably let Deepthi come in, and then we will have Shotam, who has promised to give the biggest pearls of wisdom. So, Sankalp, yeah.
Yeah, so one final thing, like the slide itself says, while we touched upon simple components of security and governance, it has to be there throughout the whole stack. So your solution again has to be secure at multiple levels, and that has to pass for that adoption to take place. And we know the capabilities there, but those pieces of the overall solution cannot be ignored anymore.
Thanks, Ankit. Deepthi, as that one organization in the world right now which is perhaps benefiting from AI the most in terms of stock price appreciation and also having full stack, what would be your parting thoughts to the audience here?
Yeah, so my thoughts would be, let's continue the momentum. Let's keep building things, but please keep in mind we have to defend it with ROIs and backed with compliance.
Thank you so much. Shotam, if you can unmute yourself, and from a perspective of an industry which sees both potentials and risk, what might be the advice that you would give to our audience? And it's a mixed audience, and it's also some people from outside India. So what would be your last words on this webinar, please?
So of course, see, with the regulations being more stringent, DPDP coming in, obviously come up with solutions. There are extremely exciting use cases, opportunities there to apply. Please do come in with the guardrails that you bring in, the security paradigms you bring in overall implementation, maintenance. I think Deep exactly coined the right word. Two main things, and that is what exactly my board also looks for. What value you will bring in, so the value yield of the solution that you are bringing in, and secondly, how you will be bringing in the entire governance, right from ingestion up to the point of model life cycle. If you can bring that, then obviously the trust will be there to adopt to those models, and more opening up of more and more opportunities thereby.
I think everybody in the panel does also understand that these are probably the most difficult two things also to achieve, to know what could the ROI, what could the returns be even before you start. The models have emergent properties. They kind of are in some ways a black box for a lot of people that are operationally focused. And I would think that there is definitely a fear psychosis. You hear about new kinds of attacks every day. So there is definitely a certain amount of risk, and which is where I guess partnering with the right experts would be important. I would definitely like to say that at this point of time, we are at the end of our webinar time. Please, in whichever muted room you are in, please give our panelists, Deepti, Sankalp, and Shautam Bhai, a great round of applause. And we will imagine the thunderous applause there. We will continue to have these conversations with industry leading experts on various topics. And please ensure you can write to us and we'll definitely follow up. And if we need to get answers from Deepti and Shautam, we'll definitely do that. Once again, thank you everybody for taking your afternoon to listen to us. And please build secure AI and get good returns, and wish all of us a best of future ahead. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Ankit. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.